Thank you so much for inviting me here. My name is Elif. That's me. And I'm going to see how I can get this started for you. My goal today is to convince you all that you can be better UX writers without me and without a UX writer. So that's my big goal today. And it came from Clemens, so thank you for the idea for this talk. So I've been at Bitpanda for a year. I come from an academic background, and when I started in tech, I was pretty nervous about it. And I was telling some people last night about the first time I talked to an engineer. It was about the error messages in our product. I thought they were terrible. They have a headline that says, error, not helpful. They say things like endpoint failure, not helpful. So I asked one of our colleagues, Jazz, I was like, hey, can I get a list of all the error messages in the product and like what triggers them? And he looked at me and just politely laughed. Like he was like, what could you possibly be asking me for? So I show you this because I think people think that writing is intimidating, right? You have the blank page, you have like the cursor staring at you, blinking, like go, 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 say something. But I'm trying to convince you today that it's actually not that intimidating and that you can all be better writers just by simply talking about what people are trying to achieve in the product you're building to somebody who does not work in tech. That's the caveat. Talk to someone who doesn't work for the company you work for. So the title of this talk is all the things you might have wanted to know but were afraid to ask, and I'm trying to anticipate some of your guesses, some of your questions in the interest of time. I guess that you might be wondering what a UX writer does. You might be wondering what a UX writer writes, and you might be wondering, can't I do that myself? And the spoiler alert, as I've said already, is yes, you can. So we're going to talk about how you can do that yourself. But before we do that, let's talk a little bit about what UX writing is. It's a discipline of design. I have made a little bit of a messy Venn diagram. Don't quote me on this. I didn't measure anything here in terms of overlap. It's a little bit Bauchgefühl, a little bit gut feeling going on here, but UX writing sits in the middle of research, content strategy, and design. The research is because you need to understand how people talk about the things you're going to write for them in the interface. If you don't have a sense of how people speak in real life, you probably can't write for them. The content strategy part is a little bit less there's a little bit less overlap for me there, at least, but this can change based on organization. Content strategy is just a fancy way of saying, what are we writing, who are we writing it for, and why? That's it. It's not more complicated than that, despite what anyone else tells you. And it overlaps tremendously with design, because I'm not writing in air. I'm writing on an interface, in a screen. I'm communicating to somebody. There's a look and feel to that. There's colors. There's button sizes. There's all kinds of other things happening. I won't go today into how design and UX writing can work better together, because I know that you all are engineers, and the point of today's talk is to convince you that you can write better without me or without anybody. So what does a UX writer do? You're really just trying to explain why and how things are happening to somebody at each step of the real-life thing that they're trying to do. Don't tell them about endpoint failures. Do not tell them about 404s. That's not what they're trying to do, right? We work for Bitpanda. People are trying to invest. People work for Uber or any other company. You're trying to order that burger that Tim wants, right? You're trying to do something in real life. You're not actually interested in the behind stages, what's happening. I put this very cheesy picture here, not because we're going to go order this floral dress, although it would look fabulous on many of you, but I put it here because we all know how we could buy that dress. We just click add to cart. Sorry, it's a little fuzzy. But we know, even if we can't read it, we know what that button says. We feel it. That's really good UX writing. So you might wonder, what skills does a UX writer need? I'm here to tell you. I'm an ambassador to you from the gods and goddesses of UX writing. You don't have to be a great writer. You just have to have the mindset of a designer, thinking in product. This is something that Clemens and I were talking about the other day, is thinking about the problem that the product you're building is trying to solve. Again, it's not more fancy than that. There are 1,001 product books that will try to convince you that it's more complex, but it's really not. It's just, what is the person trying to do with the thing you're building? And mixing that mindset of the design mindset, right, the product mindset, solving that problem for them, and the writing mindset, which is which words will help this person get there? How do these things merge? And there are thesauruses out there, there are dictionaries out there, they're all online, they're all free. You don't have to be even a native speaker to be able to do this yourself. The other thing that you need is some empathy and some communication skills. But again, those are things that anybody can learn. They're not things that anybody's born with. They're just things people practice and pick up over time. I put this picture here from, I think this is from MailChimp, because I think it really symbolizes, again, great writing, right? High five, the person has accomplished something. What have they accomplished? We can tell, even though we're not in the flow and we're not in this product, we know what they just did. They launched a campaign. We know where it is. We know the status, right? It's in the send queue. Notice that they don't say anything weird sounding jargon, nothing. They probably, the people at MailChimp probably don't think of it as a send queue. They probably have some other term for it, but they would never write that here because that makes no sense to anybody else. And when is it gonna go out? Soon, shortly, that's it, right? Those are all the things that a person needs to know to confidently close this screen and move on. So, another thing you might be wondering is, what does a UX writer actually write? And the answer is lots of things. I just grabbed a bunch of different screenshots because I didn't want to give you all examples from where I work, from Bitpanda, because you all do not work at Bitpanda, and I'm here again to convince you that you can all be better writers on your own without me. You might find UX interface, you might find UX copy in hint text, like this Facebook image. You might find it in transitional text, like this loading. You might find it in the empty state, right? You haven't added anything yet. You might find it in the push notifications. We're also behind the scenes, so you might find UX writers working on transactional emails. You might find them working on the T's and C's, right? Like the legal terms here, okay? By clicking launch meeting, you're accepting all these things. You might find us working in the support area of your organization or any other organization, writing the help content, and again, push notifications because there's a lot of that. And we also are working in places where there's no visual element. So think of Alexa, Siri, and Co. Think of chatbots, right? This is also a place where UX writers are present. So the most important question, can't I do that myself? Yes-ish. And here's a bit why. So here I would love to actually do this together. And I created this for you. So this does not exist anywhere. What's wrong with this error message? Just shout it out. There are a lot of things wrong, so you're probably going to guess right. I think I heard the word authentication credentials is terrible, right? That's awesome, yes, right? That's not human speak. What else is, I mean, that's not human speak, right? If I say that right now, valid authentication credentials were not provided, you have no idea what I'm talking about. I saw another, no hints for a solution. What do I do? Yeah, you probably know that you have to delete and try again, but if you're new, you don't know. Okay, right. All right, so that's good. Is this better? Try that again. Your answer didn't match our records. Say it again, please. A bit insulting, okay. I like that. No, good, there's a writer here. Tone, right? What's the tone? That's a great comment. Anything else? What else is going on here? But at least we got rid of authentication, right? Okay. And what about this? Your answer didn't match our records. Forgot your password, question mark? Why is this better? There you go, right? So it's human speak, it offers a solution, the tone is on point, you're not making fun of somebody, you're sounding a little snarky. This is a point where somebody's upset or annoyed or frustrated. They forgot their password. How annoying. So I'm gonna wrap up with some tips to write better today, because again, that is my main message to you, is that you can all write better today without a UX writer. And here's how. Start by understanding what a person is actually trying to do. Again, don't tell me about your endpoints and the architecture behind the scenes. I'm not interested. What is the person using your product trying to do in real life? Then define the main message to help the person do the thing. Do me a favor, never write anything until you have first defined what is the message I need to convey here. It doesn't matter, it's a first draft. It doesn't have to be perfect. It can have authentication credentials and it can have all the jargon. That's fine, because no one's gonna see it. It's a cheat sheet. Mine are literally just bullet points. I just write what purposes to satisfy, 3 to 5 bullet points. What does this message have to say? Oh, we're on the same slide. Find the patience and humility to revise, okay? Because writing is revising. And I'm gonna say that to you again on the next slide, but writing is revising. So find it in you, accept that the first draft sucks and you have to write it again. That's okay. Ask a teammate if the text is clear, concise, and useful. Do not ask them if they like it. Nobody cares if they like it. I don't care if anyone likes the things I write at work. I care if they find it clear, concise, and useful. If those are the only 3 things you take away today to improve your UX writing, and I know that many of you work in smaller organizations and you do write customer-facing text, just be sure it's clear, concise, and useful. That's it. And the last thing, gotta rinse and repeat. You gotta do this over and over and over. And you'll get better at it. This is an actual, so Bitpanda people, don't tell HR, but I'm not allowed to use Bitpanda material in this talk. but this is an actual very fuzzy screenshot of my actual workflow. Somebody came to me with the original error message. They said, I need help. It's got error and endpoint and blah, blah. And this is how many times I wrote it before we aligned on the version that's in the black rectangle. And we aligned on it together. I recognize that you're not all writers and you don't have the time to do that, but even if you revise it once or twice, it's still gonna be better than what you started with. So I say it again, writing is revising. Any writer who disagrees with me is not a writer. To craft exceptional software, you need exceptional words in it. I'm kind of riffing on the theme of this conference, right? But I do actually believe that. I would actually say to craft good software, because I think exceptional is a little flowery. But any further questions? We probably don't have time, and if we do, I'm very glad for it, and if not, please find me. This is my name. Nobody else has this name. You can find me anywhere you are, LinkedIn, Instagram, I don't care. I really hope that you all took away a few tips to help you write better interface copy without a UX writer.